think when thinking about the case method, first and foremost, expect the unexpected.
You got really a little bit too emotional during that exchange, or, I don't think that argument would really hold if you were in fact talking, with the external auditors. And so
think about some of the differences between a case method discussion and a lecture. Within, I think, a really effective case method discussion, there is a lot of learning and synthesizing that's going on throughout the discussion.
So I think this is a terrific discussion that we had with sort of a very obviously fictitious company.
The case itself, to some extent, it's an archetype. It's one example from which a number of generalizable lessons and points will be drawn.
So let's start by trying to understand what the different people involved in this case have to be doing. So, if you are the CEO of this company, Paul, if you are the CEO of this company, Jack Brennan, what would you do?
The nature of this pedagogy is that it's not like a scripted lecture. And you can plan up to a point, but you're trying to create an environment where things happen organically and unexpectedly. So go into this experience expecting that things are going to happen that you have not anticipated.
I came on as a visitor at the last minute. I got the worst classroom on campus, I'm convinced. It looked like something out of an old junior high school.
There's both, I think, an art and a craft of case method teaching. Some folks who are looking at the possibility of doing case method teaching may be a little bit hesitant or reluctant, feeling like you're kind of either born to do this sort of teaching or not. That there's a certain amount of natural ability to carry out this type of discussion. And I think, there may be some folks who in some ways do have experience or personality that allows them to do this a little bit more easily. But I think there's a huge amount of craft, and frankly, craft and science involved in case method teaching. So when we think about learning objectives in the classroom, there are really several different levels. What we call level one is really about knowledge. It's transfer of knowledge, information, and I think this is what, as a first cut at learning, you want to absorb new information. It can be facts and figures, it can be frameworks, tools, but that's really kind of the basics. The second level is looking at skills development. And that's developing analytical skills, decision-making skills, critical thinking skills, which is a sort of higher level of learning than simply just transferring information. The third level of learning, I think, is really the most difficult. And we think of the third level of learning as rotating around things like professional identity, attitude. This is really to become an effective leader. You want to have a good sense of values, a sense of being able to be reflective about your own practices, be able to continue learning into the future. And that third level of learning, I think particularly when it comes to professional education, is really important, sort of building the leader. I like to use the analogy of a case method instructor being like a jazz combo leader. This is someone who is knowledgeable about the content, but also thinks highly about the process of learning and how that person can actually generate a learning discussion throughout the class. Sometimes folks have characterized case method instructors as being like the conductor of a symphony, but I don't like that analogy because it's a bit more rigid, and it implies that the instructor is really exercising all of the control. And I think to some extent a really effective case method instructor has a bit of improv as part of the role. They want to both challenge, they want to be responsive and reactive, but they also want to be able to guide the discussion to ensure that the main learnings throughout the class do emerge.
Yeah, no, I think everything we've heard sounds good. I agree getting the audit committee involved. They might say, CEO, we're comfortable with you leading this for the next few days in these critical 48 hours.
Students in a case method classroom are expected to be active. They're expected to be prepared. They've read the case. I know sometimes with a lecture approach, students can arrive at the lecture without having read anything, and in fact are looking for the lecturer to actually summarize readings or theories. And the case method classroom is one that really expects that the participants come having prepared in advance and are really ready to dig into the discussion. I think in both cases, both instructors and students have to be willing to participate, but they also have to be willing to listen. and have to be willing to build on the work of others. I would characterize those as the main roles of the instructor and the students.